Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome back once again, or for the very first time, to the Farts and Crap Show, where today it's your host, Danjo here. Hope you guys are all doing well. And, I'm going to be talking about something that is likely old news for a lot of you guys. However, we're having more options nowadays for playing Game Boy Advance on the big screen, and that's something I'm doing right now. This is one of my favorite JRPGs ever, and definitely I'd say one of my absolute favorite, if not my favorite, retro Final Fantasy game. However, recommending Final Fantasy V to people has always had a caveat, and that caveat is what version to play, because Square Enix hasn't been great about giving us a definitive version of this game. It's much easier with like Final Fantasy IV, for example. I just tell people, play the PSP version. It's the best version, period. But with Final Fantasy V, like, it didn't even come to North America for the longest time. And even when it did, for the first time in English, I believe on the PS1, it didn't play that great. It didn't sound very good compared to the Super Nintendo original. There was still a lot of like localization problems with it, and it wasn't until this version, 2006 release on the Game Boy Advance, that I thought, wow, they actually improved a lot of things. And then we didn't get another re-release until it came to Steam in like mobile, and they kind of like redid a lot of the art and made it worse, in my opinion. Including the localization, which it just didn't fit. It didn't seem natural. There were a lot of problems I had with that version, which I do own on Steam. It's like one of the few games I've bought on Steam, because I'm not much of a PC gamer. However, the Game Boy Advance version had its own share of problems. Namely, I should say. I get those two confused. The music and the frame rate drops. Like, the audio was just bad. And like, the game for the most part runs at 60 FPS because most Game Boy Advance games do at least target 60 frames per second. And some of the Final Fantasy games on Game Boy Advance had frame rate problems. And I absolutely love this screen. It's like such a good way to do the intro credits. But yeah, I found recently an IPS patch. And in case you guys are unfamiliar, an IPS patch is for mainly for patching Game Boy Advance games. If you guys are curious on which one to use, I would definitely recommend Lunar IPS. It's been around for ages and it just works flawlessly. So if you guys want to play like a custom version of something, that's usually the way to do it. And basically this one was created by these fine people. Bregalad, Ipatix, and Duetit. And yes, this is quite old. This is old news at this point. It's 7 years ago? Yeah, this came out. And yeah, as they say, it's a pretty decent port of the game. And yeah, the PS1 version they mentioned, not as good. So basically what they do, well, another problem, they say another problem with this port is the frame rate. Many spells and all kinds of stuff drops the frame rate down to 30 instead of 60 because the game was coded sloppily. Blah blah blah. So yeah, they basically, to summarize, this is just like part of the README. As you can see, the scroll bar on the side. There's a lot more to this, but essentially what this patch does is replaces all the sound in the game with the music and the sound effects, like all the sound from the Super Nintendo release, which was very clean. Super Nintendo music has a very special place in my heart as well. A lot of Super Nintendo soundtracks are phenomenal in my book. Let's go ahead and hit new game because I couldn't find a way to grab my previous save file, and it doesn't really matter anyway because I kind of want to start from the beginning. Because yeah, a lot of the synths, a lot of the instruments they used in the Super Nintendo version were masterfully picked and arranged. Again, Nobuo Uematsu did all the music for this, and if you're playing the Game Boy Advance original, like the vanilla version, it's heavily distorted audio and like piercing highs, sometimes just like kills the mood. And that's a huge problem. Some of the other releases on Game Boy Advance also have similar IPS patches. In fact, some of the same guys who worked on this one did the Final Fantasy VI Advance IPS patch for sound restoration and fixing up the frame rate. And this is auto-scrolling, by the way, so I'm not doing any of this in case you guys are trying to read. But that one also had problems with frame rate, especially like in the intro and a lot of the Mode 7 heavy scenes. And I've tested that one out as well, and I can say, yeah, it's 100% better. 100%. And for years, I've bounced between the Game Boy Advance version and the PS1 version, but both are not great. And especially in the PS1 version, like the localization still wasn't very good. They didn't have like the labeled text boxes for a lot of dialogue and such. And a lot of the lines just didn't have the nuance that they were supposed to have. However, I think the localization for the Game Boy Advance releases are fantastic. And they really like allow me to enjoy the story, as well as you can tell, main characters having profile pictures like when they're speaking, which is really helpful. Because when I played Final Fantasy VI on the PS1 version, I just kept finding like all these like things of like, why did they do it this way? Like they had just confusing like omissions, you know. And yeah, definitely like the bass, the tremolos with the highs, just everything in this version, it sounds so good. Like these patches essentially made it so I can enjoy these versions of the game like 100%. These games, actually. And like Final Fantasy VI is not my favorite. Out of the Super Nintendo games, I greatly prefer 5. And that's partially due to the characters, partially due to the amount of customization that you can do, especially with the job system that definitely was carried over and improved upon from Final Fantasy III. Not 6, but the actual third game. Which, again, for that version, for that game, and that is crunchy. There we go. And this is the furthest I've gotten on this one. I kind of just let the game play through the intro when I was like listening comparatively to this and the vanilla. So I haven't heard this track yet. But yeah, I gotta say, like, all of these are great. Like, it's so much better. So much better. But, what was I saying? Oh yeah, the job system, which was carried over from Final Fantasy III, and definitely, like, I feel like it improves the pacing of the game, and definitely gives you a lot of options. Like, you don't make an arbitrary choice at the beginning of the game, like warrior, thief, black mage, white mage, or in Final Fantasy VI, you don't have those options at all. It's just these characters are these, like, types, you know? Like, Locke is a thief, and Edward is a weird prince guy with a crossbow. Like, you know, you can't, like, customize their abilities, all that kind of thing. I mean, you can a little bit later with, like, the espers and whatnot, but in this game, each character is kind of a blank slate without feeling aimless. Like, they still definitely feel like fleshed out characters. You just get to decide how they actually grow, like, as warriors, which is so cool. Also in this game, you got, like, the battle speed, this port, I should say. You got the ATB gauge, which you can have on or off. Re-equip, you can change it so it actually just unequips when you re-equip people. You can set it to remember your cursor position, so you can just, like, mash A for more grindy segments. You can auto dash, which is much appreciated, so you don't have to hold, like, B all the time to run. You got a bestiary, or bestiary, depending on how you say it. And later on you get an unlockable music player, in which, now that I actually am enjoying the music from this version of the game, definitely looking forward to that, which is very cool. So it's the first time I've been in battle. I gotta say, like, yeah, solid 60 FPS. So, I mean, again, I'm not casting spells or anything, but still, it's very cool. I like that. Yeah, so you got Bartz and Lena meeting for the first time, and a bunch of stuff. Please enter a name if you want to, like, change his name or whatever. I don't always do that, typically do that. But yeah, this localization is just so much better than the PS1 version. And I think part of the problem was that it didn't have an original English release. Like, it was one of the games that didn't come to North America at all. Like, we didn't get Final Fantasy 2, 3, or 5 for quite a while. So, in Final Fantasy 2, like, you know, who cares? But 3 and 5 are both great. And of course, we got character 3 introduction. Yeah, old man, right? Take a look at my life, I'm a lot like you. Anyway. And he comes to an epiphany. Something's coming back to me. Nope, just the name. Yeah, and it just reads so much better. Like, the story is... I didn't even appreciate the story for Final Fantasy V until I played this version, because when I first played it, it was on the PS1, in the Final Fantasy Anthology collection, I believe, which was Final Fantasy V and 6. And to that game's credit, like, there are CG cutscenes that they added pretty much just at the beginning and end of the game, and those were pretty well done. But everything else, not so much. Especially the load times. Basically, anytime you got into a battle, there'd be like a loading screen. Which again, not great, but yeah, that's pretty much it. This track sounds so good too. Like, everything so far has been phenomenal. So good, so good. Yeah, and in case you guys are wondering, I am using MGBA to run this right now, and in my experience, it is the most accurate Game Boy, like modern Game Boy Advance emulation. There's also like Free Boy, Visual Boy Advance, Beetle GBA. There's a bunch of different options for running Game Boy Advance stuff on other hardware. Even the recent, what was it called? There's a new like Game Boy Player thing for PC, from some company, and it's so cool. I've seen a couple videos on it. It's still kind of hard to get one. Man, I wish I could remember the name of it. Anyway, even that one uses MGBA to run the games, and essentially it has some really great features too. Like, you can, and it's not that expensive. It's like $50, but it allows you to essentially like, I think like rip the ROM, like upload, like back up your save files, upload your save files, so you could play like a JRPG like this on the device, like copy over your save file to your PC and put it on something else, like a portable emulator thing, you know, like the Pocket Go or Retroid Pocket, something like that. Keep going, and then copy it back over when you get back home. Play it on the big screen or your PC or whatever, you know? Like, that kind of stuff is so cool, and I'm pretty sure it has the option as well for applying IPS patches. But yeah, this is incredible. I really love the work that these guys put into this for creating these patches. A lot of IPS patches I see are just kind of like, okay, well, you know, you did some custom stuff on there. Like, Pokemon for ages has had various fan hacks and people essentially making their own Pokemon games out of the older ones. And just, yeah, years of like Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance contributions from the community has been incredible. So like, nowadays we have so many options to play these games and enjoy these games. Yeah, so I 100% still think this is the best version of Final Fantasy V, and especially with this patch, I have found my preferred way to play it, which is really cool. Really, really cool. So, yeah. And again, as we're getting to the end of the video here, guys, I just wanted to say, you know, don't ask people for ROMs, you know, or where to get or blah blah blah, all these things. You can, like, nowadays we have so many options to where you can rip your own cartridge to a ROM. So like there's that option as well. You know, there's things like, I think even the Retron 5, I think, allows you to play patched games. There's quite a few devices out there. There's the recent Game Boy Advance player thing from Hyperkin, I forget the name of it. The Retron SQ or something. It was going to be called the Retron Junior, and then they gave it some kind of weird thing, I don't know. There's the Analog Pocket that just came out, which was partially the partial inspiration for even like researching all of this and doing this video. Yeah, and there's a bunch of other stuff too, like, just if you want to know more about emulation, you know, ask some people. Like, odds are one of your gamer friends knows emulation pretty well. Talk to them about it, you know, whatever. I'm in no way encouraging piracy. In fact, if you can, you know, buy a Game Boy Advance, buy a Final Fantasy V Advance cartridge, you know, add it to your collection. Those things only increase in value. I guarantee it. Or, you know, check out, how about everybody bother Square Enix on Twitter or something until we get re-releases of these games, because honestly, the pixel remasters are not cutting it. I don't like the way they look. I don't like anything about them, really. And the fact that they're only on Steam and mobile right now is just, yeah, kind of a huge oversight. I want these on my Switch. I want these on PlayStation. I want these on, like, platforms I can easily play them on. But, yeah. That's pretty much it, guys. So I'm probably going to do a full playthrough of this at some point in the future. And yeah, thank you all for stopping by. If you guys enjoyed the video, let me know what's your favorite retro Final Fantasy. Put that in the comment section. Let's just nerd out about retro Final Fantasy games or JRPGs. I am always down for that. And yeah. But yeah, until next time, everybody, take care, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. And before we go, very special thank you to the Farts and Crap Show members, Old Cranky Gamer and Novalis Draconis. Thank you guys so much for checking out the join button down below, choosing to support the show a bit more directly. Greatly appreciate you guys. And if you want to join the ranks, the join button is right next to that subscribe button, which I'm sure you're already familiar with, kind of to the right of the like button. And yeah, you know, very much helps. Anything else before we go? I don't think so. I think that's it. So, till next time, everybody, take care. Have a good one.